So I'm going to actually put the combo that a lot of people have not seen first. So I'm going to do this as quickly as possible for the people that are just watching this video to see what the combo is and what it looks like. So there are two variations to it. The idea here is that when you are pressing E from max range, there's a very long travel time, right? As you can see, she has to follow the E, and it takes maybe a second. You can get rid of this travel time by flashing as when you cast E before the hook shot hits the wall. If you flash closer to the wall, then it will take a less time for you to travel to the wall, right? It will be as if you're casting E from this location, right? Oh, I accidentally fucked that up. If you just cast E from here, it's instant, and you can recreate this from here by just flashing right away, and then it basically does that. The second variation is basically it's the same thing, it's the same principle, but you're flashing when the hook shot hits the wall. So as you can see here, same thing, I'm max range, right? You actually want to get a little closer for this one to work properly, because if this is what it looks like if you fail it. If you flash away, as you can see, the E is canceled. So you want to make sure that you're still in flashable range of this. So basically, if the hook shot hits the wall, and then you flash, so the hook shot hits the wall while you're traveling to the wall, you flash closer to the wall, and then you can E right away, like that. And it's the same principle, but this time it's and I guess you can even wait you don't even have to be close to the wall. You can just wait until you're in flashable range and then use the combo. And so basically, the reason why you'd ever want to do this is because, one, it's something that something that people have not ever seen or see very rarely, is something that you can definitely use to outplay people. That's why when you see for example, a champion that's not really played much, like Azir, right? If you see an Azir playing, the Azir main that has played that champion thousands of times is gonna know the casual player. Is gonna know certain things the casual player does not, which is why he can catch people off guard. Similar to this combo, right? If you understand this combo and how to utilize it, you can definitely surprise people. You can really fuck with people's heads too, because they're not really sure what you're doing. And also against certain champions like Fiora, right? Getting the riposte out of the way is really important, or catching her off guard is also really important. And this is a prime example of a way that you can do this, right? If you cast E like this, or if you cast E in the way that I showed you, where you do some really tricky maneuver like this, where you cast it from here and then instantly use it, right? She's not going to be expecting that, and that can absolutely outplay her for sure. And it will add a new mechanic to the matchup, essentially, and that goes with every single matchup, right? So it's definitely something that's not explored. It hasn't been seen before, and that's why my title is so clickbait, because this is definitely something I've watched so many different VODs of Camille's playing. I've watched so many different VODs of Khan's playing. I've watched Weekend, I've watched Thrall, other Master and Korean challengers playing Camille, and I have not seen this once. This is the first time I saw it was in I was actually watching Dom's video, and it was of a player named 660. I don't know who that is. That's probably a Smurf ID. They have a very high win rate on Camille, and they're definitely someone I'm going to keep my eyes on. But this is something that I learned from them, which is kind of cool. So that's kind of the first half of the video for all the people that are just clicking on this video to watch that. The second part will be a tutorial guide on essentially the most important combos that Camille can do. There's going to be a lot of variations to this, adding T-Mat, adding her W, but this is going to be the very basics, right? So the first one is, I'm sure a lot of people know this, is when you're in mid-E, you can actually flash onto a target, and then the E will be brought up onto the target. As you can see, I'm clearly in no way going to be able to hit the target from here, but because I flash, or let me just try this here, because I flash onto the target, it hits them. So something that you can consider is that if you are ganking a target, right, let's say you're playing Camille Jungle, or maybe you're responding to a gank, if you're going to be doing this, right, it's actually better for you to flash, basically right here, because it will knock them backwards. As you can see, the E will always knock your target away. So if you flash, if you do this and then you flash in front of them, as you can see, it knocks them back, and that will give you a more of a gap for them to have to make up. So that's, and then with this, right, there's some variations, right? But that's, you can add in T-Mat here and whatnot, right? You can actually also T-Mat when you're in mid E whenever you want to. As you're casting it in the middle of your E, you will always be able to cast T-Mat. So you can also T-Mat flash, which is another mechanic a lot of people don't know about. So you can combine these two, right? You can T-Mat flash. It's kind of tricky to do at first because I don't have the muscle memory down. You basically want to E and then T-Mat flash, right? And then, it's the same thing, right? This is what I mean. Like, I'm not going to go into every variation in detail because there's really no point, especially if you're new to this champion, right? You just want the very, very baseline of this. So with that, so another variation to this is you can also, I'm blanking here. You can also, so this is I guess there's no more really variations I want to talk about with that one. But so basically other ways to use your E is you can get up to a wall and then instantly, oh wait, that's not what I wanted to do. You can use your E onto the wall and then instantly use the second part, as you can see here. And this gives really no time for reaction, especially if the closer you are to your opponent in the wall, the less time they have to react to. So if you're against a Fiora, right, and you're up against a wall like this, there's going to be no human way. There's not going to be a possible way for no human can react to something this fast, right? That's simply impossible. You need to be able to script to do something like that. So that's just something you can consider. But obviously, the farther away you are, the more time they have to react. So the third thing we're going to talk about with your E is the fact that you can stall the second half, which is another mechanic that a lot of people don't realize. You have the opportunity, and this is where a lot of players will be able to dodge you if you are not patient on your E, because they'll wait for the last second. But you can really sometimes you just want to hold the E and then use it. You can hold it up to like a minute long. It's pretty ridiculous. Not a minute, like almost a second long. And then use it at the last second. This is another great mechanic to outplay Fiora, especially the more intense the fight is, the more close it is, the more high pressure the situation is, the more likely an enemy Fiora will blunder here. So you can actually just, stall your E like this, or you can even like instantly E and then wait and then use it, right? And that will definitely catch them off guard for sure. And this is what I was just trying to remember. Another variation with your E, with the E flash is you can, didn't mean to do that, you can actually use your flash when you're on the wall and then E. Okay, so it's a little weird to do at first, but as you can see, I'm not using. So this is the first one, right? You are already in the air. Here I'm waiting on the wall, and then I flash and then E. You have to be very quick. If you just flash, your E will go away. You have to make sure that you flash and then E. And then another thing you want to avoid is you don't want to be using your flash when you're in midair because it will not work, right? You have to make sure that you're touching the wall, and then you can flash and then E. And this is when you're going to want to use this because, like, for example, right here, I'm not in range to get the, oh wait, I am. Okay, that's pretty ridiculous. Right here, okay. I'm not in range to get the extra movement, or the extra length of my E. If you didn't know, Camille gets extra length if she has a target nearby. As you can see, the range is doubled. But here, I'm not able to get that bonus. Or there, I guess I am. Here, I'm not, though. I'm not able to get that bonus. However, if you do this right, you will. So this is the spot, right, where I won't be able to get the bonus. But if you do this right, if you flash then E, as you can see, I get the bonus. I did the same exact spot, but I get the bonus because I flashed and then E'd, right? It's a little weird to explain. Like I said, you have to experiment with it. So like I said here, I'll show it one more time. I'm not able to get the bonus, but if I flash and then E, I messed it up. If I flash and then E, I do get the bonus here, and that can give you an easier way to and in fact, this is exactly when I'd want to use it, right? When I'm trying to pull off a gank. As you can see, I'm in range. Where if I don't do that, I'm not going to be in range, right? I can't even wall hop this because I don't even have enough length, right? I'm gonna do that. So this is really, really huge. As you can see, there's a huge difference between this, and this is something you definitely want to know. So the fourth thing about her E is that you can cast W at any point, just like T-Mat, you can cast W at any point you want. And this is another thing where you just have to get used to the timing here of when you're going to be in range to get the second half of your W, right? It depends on where you are in relationship to your target. So like, for example, if I'm this close, I'm going to basically want to use my W right away so I can hit it. But if I'm this far away, I'm going to want to wait until I'm I'm going to be closer like that. So it's a little weird to explain. Like I said, it's definitely something that you have to experiment with it and get the timing down for sure. And with that being said, you can really get some. This is what I mean with all the variations, right? You can combine these right together, where you can you can do the exact same two combos that I talked about, where you flash E and then add the W, right, and then add the T-Mat. So there's a lot that goes on. So another thing that you want to know is that if you're looking to use your R right away on someone, so this is two things. When you're Eing, you can actually press R whenever you want, and then that will R instantly. So I can just So as I'm in midair, I'm going to press R, and then it will use it as fast as possible, and that will just make sure that will go down. Same with flashing, right? I can buffer the R. As you can see, Camille is going to run towards the target to use her R, and when she's in range, she's going to R. But what I can actually do here is if I just press R like this and then flash. Oh wait, that was a little out of range. If I make sure that you're in range, right, for your R. When you flash, if you flash, it does it instantly, right? Faster than if you were to flash and then press R, because as you can see, there's a little gap there. So the other thing that we want to talk about is another animation cancel. When you press W and use Tiamat, as you can see, Camille stops her animation of going up in the air and then kicking down. If you use your Tiamat, you don't. You actually can cancel the animation of the Tiamat and the W, right? And it makes it kind of like a weird little animation, but yeah. So now another combo that we're going to talk about is the Q. So basically when you're with Camille, to get the most amount of DPS, you always want to auto Q. But this is another part that makes Camille hard. Not in lane, a lot of the time, you're going to have to Q based on what you're trying to do in the lane. So for example, if you're against someone that you want to take short trades on, right, then you're going to want to Q and then disengage. But if you're against someone that you want to take long trades against, you want to auto Q and then auto, and then wait for the second part and then auto Q again, right? For the most amount of damage. It all depends on what's going on. And sometimes you're going to be able to get off an auto Q and then maybe an auto, then you're going to have to Q and disengage. This is where you want to watch VODs to understand when to use this and how to use this, because blundering will make you miss a lot of damage for sure. Another thing that you want to consider is that against Nasus and against Renekton, if you Q before they use their empowered ability, your auto will always go off before theirs. So that's something that you can do against a Garen too. A Garen's another prime example of that. If you are walking up to the Garen and you press Q before him, it will always go off, and that's why the matchup's so free for Camille, because she can just take those trades every time. When the Garen's running up to her, she can just Q, and then his Q will go off, and then she'll have the passive shield, and then she'll have her second Q to counteract. And that's something really, really important to know. And then another thing that you want to know is when you are going to ult, if you're in an all-in with someone, it's best to try to use your first Q before you do anything else. Like basically the second Q, the later game you go, does the most amount of damage, right? You've seen montages, right, of the Camille's just doing literally half of someone's health. That's all due to the second Q, the true damage from it. So that's definitely the most important cooldown, and you want to get the first Q off as soon as possible. That's 100% for sure. The second Q is the most important cooldown to get off. So when you're right before you are someone, you definitely want to Q to get the Q faster. Another thing that you can do is really, this is where a lot of variations come into play. So I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible. But let's suppose that this is another example. Let's say I'm on the tower, right? Something I can do is I can Q the tower, and then I'll have the second Q right here, right? And that's just something that you can really, this is how you can one-shot ADCs, right? You can just make sure that you Q something. Like you can Q anything you want. You can Q plants. You can Q the blast cone. But it's really important to get the first one out of the way, and then you can E flash on someone and then second Q them and then R, and that will do literally half their HP. They're locked in your ultimate, and then you can just kill them very easily. Another thing that you want to know is that Q will give you movement speed when you use it. So while you're in lane to line up a W, you can press Q on a minion, and then you get a bonus movement speed that will make your W easier to land. And a lot of people aren't aware of that, and you can definitely take advantage of that. And if you are running from someone, it's good to Q whatever you possibly can, like I said. Anything that you possibly can auto, that's good to do. And yeah, you'll be able to go faster. So I think that's pretty much all I really wanted to talk about. I try to keep this as short as possible. Those are the most important things to know. On Camille, of course, there are things that I left out, right? There are certain animation cancels that you definitely can do that are not going to be really talked about because it's going to be too specific, right? You have to first start with the basics and work your way up, baby steps, etc. So that's all I have. I hope that this video wasn't too clickbait enough, because these combos are not really seen much often. So yeah, that's really all I have.